very brief agenda. So we've got a motion by Ms. Bahu, asking to have the proper department submit a detailed report on how Lowell Public Schools includes financial literacy courses in our high school students' curriculum and prepares them for long-term financial knowledge upon leaving. But please tell me how we do that.
The reason why I'm hesitating is because it should have been a second item on there as well, because the original one was,
The second one is the curriculum update.
The health curriculum update, so I can do, and I shared both.
Okay.
So the, financial literacy is offered, for first year students, for all first year students, in a practical, pretty authentic way, that they, work on foundational skills, thinking about what needs and wants they have, and partnering with John Dodd Credit Union. We get all of the students at the high school get an opportunity to find out about financial literacy through the first year seminar. Then there are 11th and 12th grade options that are much more advanced, macro and microeconomics, elective coursework, as well as there's evidence of financial literacy in one of the more advanced math classes as well. I think that there isn't a required standard right now for DESE for that to be a requirement, but the way that Lowell is currently handling these, all students are getting access to it in the first year, and then more advanced students would have an opportunity in econ or in math class to focus on literacy, financial literacy skills.
And when you indicate the freshman seminar, St. Jean Doc comes in.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's great that they do that.
Yeah.
How much time do they spend with the students? Is that like done over a semester, or is that done essentially over, a period? If you
It's a period, but semester wise for that first year.
Okay, so it's a period throughout.
First year seminar is a full period that they take, and it's done throughout that whole market period.
Okay, and then as far as the intro to economics and finance and the financial algebra, grades 11 and 12, those are optional for students, is that correct? They're electives.
Yeah.
They're electives. Now, there's a lot to finances, right? So I guess, my question is, like MASC came out with a newsletter in January. It says like, we've got a motion by Treasurer Goldberg, as well as a senator from Weymouth, Mr. O'Connor, requires all Mass public students to take a semester course in personal finance to graduate.
Yeah.
So I know that's sort of on the table. And then if you read on, it says 17 Mass high schools require students to take personal finance course to graduate. Okay. It goes on to state that national reports 69% of high school graduates enroll in college where financial literacy is crucial for managing loans and budgeting and such like that. And some of them go on to work.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it's touched on the elective basis, but would it be possible for Lowell to implement a financial literacy course to and have graduation requirements attached to it? Is that somehow that, would be a consideration of?
That they would always consider any option. They would consider it. My sense is that it could absolutely be something that is considered. And you want it to be a requirement for graduation.
Well,
as a course.
Yeah, something to sort of, move the ball forward. I mean, let's be real, kids go to college, right? There's tuition costs.
Yes.
And do they know much about grants? Do they know much about scholarships? Do they know the difference between a state school and a university and those costs that are incurred? Do they know the difference of if they don't graduate, how much money they're still going to be beholden to, right? And do they understand the idea of a 30% credit card, right? And if you have $2,000 balance, you pay $75 a month on that $2,000 balance.
You don't have to sell me on.
I'm sure I don't, but there's so much
The
to it,
value.
right?
of financial literacy. I can absolutely, where it seems to live in the standards is in history. So that is where I would have to have a conversation with high school history chair, to talk about the feasibility of how to begin. Maybe even a course as an elective initially. Would that be something that you?
Well, an elective, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, one of the things I think is that, I mean, there are standards that have been established.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, the state has standards, they're just not mandatory.
They're not
That's
mandatory.
correct. You know, in terms of what those actual standards are, I don't know, I'm assuming, I mean, no one would know that off the top of their head. But I'm just kind of, you know, I'm curious because, I mean, I know a lot of our preliminary conversations about this. I mean, I had started them many, many years ago. I know, Stacey Thompson had brought it up again a couple of years ago. And one of the things that we talked about was embedding these financial concepts in existing courses.
Right.
So that you'd be able to see them, you could pull them out and say,
Right.
this is where this is happening. So that you wouldn't have a discrete course. But I would also say, I mean, it could be something, I mean, recognizing that the day is very tight.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the reality, but students and teachers alike. Would there be an opportunity if we ran, like, I'm thinking like, if you did like an after-school kind of program, but that you tied it, I would like to tie it to the scholarship program. So that if you were applying for a scholarship through Greater Lowell Community Foundation, it would either be a point in your favor,
Okay.
that you would take in this course successfully. I'd stop short of making it mandatory, but I mean, I think you could, you know, these are students who are, you know, going to college, but going to a lot of different colleges. I mean, these aren't all, you know, so they, you know, a lot of these kids are going to Middlesex and things like that. That would still be applying for some scholarship support. And this could be kind of a carrot as opposed to a stick, you know, a carrot to help them, you know, be better served and, you know, it would place the onus on them to attend and complete. And I'd make it, in my perfect world, I mean, I'd make it so that it's almost a certificate program that you have to pass a course, there's real rigor to it. But I also think you could do that in, you know, like 2 days, 2 afternoons a week for a semester. Exactly, and you'd hit everything you need to hit.
I know that's absolutely something that maybe my advisor. They're currently talking about a lot of micro-credentialing. So that could be
There you go.
something that happens as part of the micro-credentialing. The students go in, just like you said, it's a carrot.
Yeah.
And they get some sort of certification for completing financial literacy.
And that could definitely be something that like GDOT would be willing to take part in. And, you know, I think they've kind of sewed up the market at the high school for financial ed, which is a wonderful, I mean, service they provide. But if it was too much for them, there could be others that might be interested in taking this on as a, you know.
Sure, and I think that's a good start.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, it's the kids that go to college.
Right, exactly.
Right, so how about the kids that aren't going to college?
Yeah.
So how do we sort
Yeah.
of prepare them
Incentivize them.
to understand, you know, what finances are all about?
I mean, a freshman seminar is a good place to start. So are you thinking that you want more than,
The thing
what is
about
it that the freshman
The
seminar?
thing between the freshman seminar and graduating your senior year.
That is a long period. of
It's a
time.
long period of time to really reel back and to say, okay, what did I learn about, you know, credit cards, what Gene Dark taught me, and, you know, what careless spending looks like. And sort of
It's absolutely
balancing,
valuable.
right,
I
balancing
have
my
2 sons.
budget.
I know it's absolutely valuable.
Sure, as
There
I
you
do,
go.
and I, you know, I have, you know, kids that have graduated college
Yeah.
and older,
Absolutely.
but still they see, you know, that I share with them and they're like, oh, really, Dad? You know, I didn't think about that, you know, the benefit of a 0% credit card.
Right.
And you know, why not grab on that and transfer that balance that you
Right.
owe off from
Right.
college and put it on that and be able to pay it over 18 months? Wouldn't that be a nice benefit? Yeah. Oh, okay, didn't think of that. So
Right.
there, you know, there's benefits. And the 29.99% credit cards are realistically the, you know.
Could be there
the thing-
forever.
That's correct, and it's sort of the thing, right? You don't find 0% credit cards or 799s or anything like that, so, you know, that's just a credit card, because then it all reflects back to your credit score. Buying a car, buying a house, So, I think more, something, more, and I love your idea, Colleen. I think it's a great idea to base it on the scholarships. It's a great beginning. But I do also know that, we've sort of eliminated the MCAS. So is there some downtime, in the junior year? Of, maybe classes of kids that maybe didn't pass the MCAS, and I know that's sort of a separate thing. I know it's a sophomore type of course, but
It's definitely something we can.
yeah, it would be great, because I just think kids are walking away from high school not understanding.
Yeah, oh my God,
Right.
so true.
Sure.
How about, I mean, even if we wanted to, looking, because again, I'm trying to hook it in, the idea of tying it with, I don't know what Math Hire is doing currently for the teen workforce, but I know that in the past, they've had a lot of different programs around it. It could be something that you tied into that as well. It'd be interesting. Yep, no,
And as you mentioned that, I'm thinking of UTech.
Yeah.
Right, because that would be a great thing, a great tool for UTech to share with a lot of their, people pass through their building, and there are hundreds of them.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if so when you look at the breakdown, all freshmen get introduced to it. Nothing happens in 10th grade.
Right.
It can't be a module that's added to 10th grade math or something, kind of like a refresher or build on what they had. And then what happens with 11 and 12? Numbers 2 and 3 are not all students, only ones who elect those classes. So it's really only freshman year that we touch all students. And would it be something that could be built in to math?
well, I mean, I think that that's what we were kind of looking to have them tease out, because I mean, a lot of it has been embedded in whether it's math courses, history courses, social, so a lot of it is embedded in places, but you don't see it, so we need to tease it out and see exactly.
And know that it is
What's
there.
happening so
Right.
far, exactly.
And I love the idea of this after-school thing, and is there already a program to help kids with the whole applying for financial aid, the whole FAFSA, and because that is so challenging in itself. I think I was the first one in my family to go to college, and that was a long time ago. It's gotten so much more complicated now. And I don't know if if they already have a structured formal thing for doing that, or if that could be part of this. Financial literacy and help with understanding what your financial resources are, what's out there, and how do you apply, how do you get connected?
I mean, I believe the guidance
The guidance
department,
department.
yeah,
So they
offers
probably are,
nights for both parents and students. I mean, specifically around the
right, one
FAFSA,
night, yeah.
not, is that,
And realistically, understanding the cost, again, community college, state universities, and then universities themselves.
Right.
What's the difference between Boston University and Boston College and UMass Lowell?
Right.
What's the benefit of going there? Is it because I'm going to Boston? Or is it because, they have something that I can have right here in the city of Lowell and pay half the overall cost. Not have that burden on me. And that's just the kid going to college. Right, because again, everything sort of reflects one thing to another, right? Loans, repayments of loans, car payments, credit scores, too much debt. And once you fall behind, we all know what that looks like.
exactly.
So I do think that just 10th grade, everybody getting touched just in 10th grade is not enough. I mean, that's my sense.
It almost needs to be in the limited years. So thank you for preparing this.
You're welcome.
And sharing this information. And then understanding maybe the need for
No, absolutely.
the benefit of this. As you said, you have 2 kids and
I mean, I'd also say too, I mean, only because we've done it, our financial education center. But I know for a lot of the local banks at least, and I don't know if GDAC does this or there, but I know there are some, again, looking at CARES. At the end of a program, a lot of the times the banks will open up a bank account for the student
Right.
and start it off with like $25 or $50 for having completed the having completed the course. So it's one more way you can build in an incentive. You know, if you're gonna do a, like an afternoon thing, you gotta make it worth, you gotta make it worthwhile.
And who knows if you could help them get approved for a $500 credit card? And then
That's
teach
it.
them how to.
Credit builder, and then you go
pay
from
off,
there, absolutely.
Right, so there's all types of options, and it's a great learning tool.
Yeah.
It really is.
Great.
So,
So any other questions on the financial education side? Okay, we can move on, I'm sorry, to the health curriculum.
So the health curriculum. As you know, we have wonderful social studies, science, health staff, meaning that we don't officially have anyone who's actually supporting health across all the central office. So we have Caitlin Urban, who is the coordinator for social studies and science, and she has a district support specialist, Mara, who also works with her, the coordination of the health curriculum. So a lot of the work that I share with you comes from really the social studies and science team working on health. Their focus this year, so based off of the first information that I shared with you, which was the survey that I know I inherited, but didn't produce as much data from our teachers or our students about whether or not the Michigan model was the curriculum that we should be using. They focused this year on aligning the work that had been going on at the high school in health, which is a DESE approved vendor, Lighthouse, so that we could have some alignment, so that the high school work could go down to middle. So as a team across middle and high, our health teachers have been meeting this year, at least twice officially, full days, where they have mapped out their scope and sequence for the health curriculum, aligned to the new standards for health. They're gonna have another third meeting this Friday. But the focus has been on the standards alignment of health in the district. To create the curriculum, and Lighthouse is the provider that has been supporting and moving the work forward.
I
Yes.
thought we piloted the Michigan model and they
Did in
didn't
middle.
like it.
Did not.
So, but yeah, we're still using the Michigan.
We're using it because there isn't anything else. But we are meaning that they're using the curriculum and they're using pieces of the curriculum. And they gave feedback that it wasn't aligned to the new standards, but nothing really is because the standards are new. So why we with Lighthouse is because DESE has approved Lighthouse as the provider to help create curriculum that aligns to the new standards. So with what the foundation was of the Michigan model, they are building curriculum. with
Okay,
Lighthouse.
so we didn't throw out Michigan
We
model,
did not.
we're trying to supplement it.
We are
But then
supplementing.
what happened to the task force? Are you just not using that word?
We're just not using that word.
Okay, so now you said they've had 2 meetings so
They've
far.
had 2 professional learning sessions where they're building out the curriculum with Lighthouse. And they're gonna have a third, with the end goal being that this year they will have a complete scope and sequence for middle and high health aligned to the new standards.
And that'll all be with Lighthouse.
Yes, through the work that Lighthouse has been supporting them with.
And so the group that's meeting, we're just not calling them the task force. It's the same group. It's the middle school health teachers
Yes.
with the high
High
school
school
health.
health teachers.
And this
Oh,
group Lighthouse, that's
It's the
DESE.
provider that DESE has approved.
And so the baseline is the standards that DESE has come up with after, what, it was over 25 years.
Right.
So, and I guess, where did the students fit in on this? Did we talk to students who've gone
We
through
talked
last
to-
year, or
So
what
we
are we
talked,
teaching them this year?
so we talked to the students last year. That was the survey that I shared with you, where not very many students have responded. And we're focusing on trying to align our teachers to provide them with the professional support and with the curriculum, so that then they can start teaching, and then we're gonna be talking.
So what have they been teaching them this year?
They've been using pieces of pieces of Michigan model with alignment to new standards based off of the work they're doing with Lighthouse.
Because the other thing I think happened last year was the survey of students was done like the last week of school. right? It was not,
Towards the end of the year, yes.
yeah, it was not rolled out in a way that you could really get. If you don't get it on the first pass, you gotta, be knocking on the doors, okay, it's middle school, you didn't, X middle school, we didn't get your responses yet, so that takes time, so.
And are you wanting more survey from? the students
Well, I
about
do
what's
want
happening right
student
now?
voice to be heard, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you with this report and, I appreciate there's been a lot of behind the scenes effort. But this isn't really telling me that much. Like, I don't know, what are the modules you're gonna be covering? What are the, I don't think modules is really the word I mean.
Standards.
This, yeah, what are the,
What's the content?
right, the content that we're gonna be,
Okay.
and if we're talking about, are we talking about STDs? Are we talking about safe sex? Are we talking, are we taking a comprehensive
Yes.
approach to that piece of it? And where do parents fit in at the middle school level? What are we doing? What are we rolling out in fifth grade as opposed to what are we covering in eighth grade? I
So you
mean,
wanna
that's
see
really
this-
what,
So you wanna see the scope and sequence that they're doing?
I mean, if we're, so we made a commitment a couple of years ago that every school, every middle school had to have a certified health teacher. And I think we lost at the high school level, some consistent health, education, because we made all these, if you take dance, you don't have to take health.
Right.
And, and I think
Right.
that brought that's when I realized that every middle school didn't even have a health teacher. That we can't, first of all, the high school is too late, you really gotta start earlier. And, health education is about a lot of things, nutrition, exercise, sleep, respectful relationship, the important, like,
And all of those are gonna be part of the scope and sequence, for sure. You will see evidence of it when they complete it. They have not
Okay.
completed it yet.
okay,
But we are hoping by the end of this year, June, they will have that scope and sequence, and I can absolutely share that with you, so you can see what's gonna get taught across 5 all the way up to 10.
And last school year, it was shared with us what they were doing, right? The students that took
Yeah.
the goal and such like that, but there wasn't a lot of substance from the students.
Right.
Like you said, they came to the last week of school. And then secondly, the direction just seemed a little bit free.
Right.
wasn't-
And it was a little antiquated, correct?
right.
I know you don't wanna get it, just purchase Michigan, but that was part of the feedback that we received from the teachers.
It was
and
old.
students.
But it was the only thing out there. I was like,
Right. Right,
So is Lighthouse being used across the state?
as the provider from the state.
That's the provider from the state. So they're saying this.
This supports the new frameworks for.
So that's ongoing.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, it's in its infancy
Yeah.
with Desi, and then it's going to be begin to grow.
Right. And we're hoping to align, because last year, the high school spent the entire year with Lighthouse working on curriculum. Especially at the middle school, went with Michigan instead of. The provider. So now we're trying to bring down some of the. And in partnership, the middle and the high, and the work together.
well, I mean, that makes perfect sense. You want
It should
that
be
vertical
aligned.
alignment. It should be like that. That's the way to do it. Okay. So this is kind of like just a progress report, but we're not there yet.
No, not until June. But we will be there. It's almost there. Or at least
Well, it's
we'll
almost
get-
May, so you're
So
running
you will
out
have-
of time.
They're meeting again this Friday, so then they'll be moving a lot closer to having it finalized. But the goal was that this year they would have complete scope and sequence. For the health. 5.
Well, I like the idea that you're doing this professional development with maybe it was only at the high school. I mean, I saw it in the report. You have the physical education teachers and the health teachers there. Because the next step for me is gonna be, what are we doing at the elementary level?
I know
To
that's
teach
coming.
kids about, healthy
Right.
behavior
Yeah.
and all those things that, it's important to a healthy life. So, all right, thank you.
Any other questions on our second topic? Entertain a motion to adjourn from the majority. Oh, there you go, second. All those in favor?
I.
Aye. There you go. Stand adjourned.
You will all.